Welcome back to Star Trek Online, everybody. I am your host, the Housecoat Gamer, and today we are taking a look at the D7-Class Battlecruiser, introduced in 2245, right around the same time the Constitution was introduced. In case you're wondering, I don't really subscribe to STD's interpretation of things. After all, they've screwed up so often, and pretty much ignored anything we have to say, or anything previous. So, the D7. This thing replaced the D5 and presumably D6 classes. I'm just gonna ask, did someone forget to do the whole impulse engines here? I mean, lights are on, but where's the impulse engines? That looks a lot better. But the D7 is not just used by the Klingons. It was in fact used by the Romulan Star Empire as the Klin class. In fact, the D7 first appeared in TOS as a Romulan ship. Of course, Spock did say that there was a technology exchange. Well, this is the more accurate version of the D7. It actually has impulse engines. I mean, did somebody at Cryptic screw up? I mean, it's happened, but... Anywho, the D7 served admirably for years and years before finally being refit and de facto replaced by the Katinga class, as we see in Star Trek the Motion Picture. In fact, you could say the Katinga is the Constitution refit for the Klingon Empire. Comparing the two, there's not much difference. A bit more reinforcement, different hull detailing and all that, but otherwise it looks pretty good. And of course it includes an aft photon torpedo launcher, which didn't avail the Battlecruiser AMAR very much when they went up against V'ger, did they? Anyway, the D7 continued to serve the Defense Forces for decades. And one in particular is the most famous. Kronos 1, personal flagship of Chancellor Gorkon, who, if you go by Klingon Academy, ascended the Chancellorship about 3 years before the moon Praxis decided to go explodey. But this is the personal flagship of his house, and so has filigree and all that. Anywho, Kronos 1 would later be torpedoed. But I don't think anyone here hasn't watched Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, so... A fun fact, due to someone screwing up, the Katinga was featured in Star Trek Enterprise. This is, in fact, a screw-up. Someone forgot to put in the proper model, which would have looked something like this. This is the Koro Katinga, the Tier 3 skin for the Katinga class in STO. It certainly looks like it belongs in the Enterprise era, and as far as I'm concerned, it represents Enterprise. It certainly looks ancient enough. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this is the D4. It's just a bit bigger than it should be. Then there's this thing. The guys at Cryptic must have been bored. Really, really bored. Because structurally, this is nothing like the Katinga class. Hold on a moment. Katinga refit. Katinga refit. Yeah, the guys must have been bored. Really bored. And decided to pancake it. The only part of a ship that I can comfortably say is useful for a Katinga class is, well, the neck. I'm actually quite fond of that. That's a very nice idea. It actually adds a little bit more firepower. A couple of proper disruptor cannon ports. Pew, pew, pew. As you might have guessed, this is the legendary version of the ship. Otherwise, I would never have done a D7 class review. I only do tier 6s because those are the only ones that are useful nowadays. The D7 Legendary has a 5 forward, 3 aft arrangement. It's a very typical battlecruiser, and has the same console layout as, well, many battlecruisers do. Mostly tactical bias, engineering bias. Science only gets 3 consoles, the other 2 get 4. I have personally Okay, that is unique. That is very unique. I kind of like it. Anyway, I've personally upgraded this design, well, my personal ship, to, well, I've given it a T6X token. The first Klingon ship, I might add, that I've done this to. And I bet you're asking, why would he do that? Well, for one, I decided if I'm gonna make a Tier 6X ship, it's gonna be a Klingon one. And besides, I got the token for free. Would I recommend getting it? Well, you're gonna kind of be screwed for it, because soon it's gonna be full. Well, as of recording, this is going to be a full-price ship. You know, at that angle, you could almost be fooled into thinking that the only part of the ship that was the same, different, was the nacelle pylons. But it's too flat. Someone pancaked this thing to hell. It's worth getting, though. It's a fun ship. I've personally had a little bit of fun with it. Especially during thanks to cross-faction flying. I don't like doing that, but hey, it's a battle cruiser with a cloaking device. A battle cloak, no less. It's assisted me in my efforts to assist my fleet. Even if I'm not exactly a fan of using a Klingon ship on a Federation toon. Fortunately, I will never use it on my YouTube toon. I've been using it on others. What can I say? I've been a little bored. Housecoat Gaming, signing off.